14.2 versus 16.2 inches, 3.5 versus 4.7 pounds, 6 versus 8 performance cores, 14 versus 32 graphics cores, single versus double video accelerators, 16 versus 64 gigabytes of unified memory, 512 gigabytes versus 8 terabytes of SSD, 17 hours versus 21 hours of battery life, and a difference of $500 to over $5,000 or more. So, are the extra size and features worth the extra cash? I'm Rene Ritchie, thanks to Ting for sponsoring, and this is MacBook Pro versus MacBook Pro. Let's go. One of the absolute best things about the new MacBook Pro is that both sizes, 14-inch and 16-inch, are almost identical. Almost. That includes the high dynamic range, HDR, mini LED displays with up to 120 Hz adaptive refresh rate on both sizes. The only thing left for you to do is to pick between those sizes, between 14.2 inches and 16.2 inches. Now, on paper, that difference may look like $500, $2,000 versus $2,500, but that $2,000 is for a lower spec 14-inch, which I'll get to in a minute. If you want to compare apples to other apples, once you put the system in parity, the actual difference is just $200, $2,300 versus $2,500. Now, bigger might always just sound like better, especially if you really do want to have the most content in front of you as possible. For photo or video editing, music making, 3D rendering, coding, whatever, just all the canvas, all the layers, all the text, all the palettes, all the pixels, all the time. But with that extra size does come extra bulk, and yes, extra weight. Obviously, the bigger one is bigger, which will affect how easily it'll fit onto your desk and in your bag. But it's also heavier, 3.5 pounds versus 4.7 pounds heavier, half a kilo heavier. And that might not matter to you like at all if you're just leaving it on your desk. But if you're carrying it around all day, every day, that may matter to you quite a lot. So if portability really is the most important thing to you, you're gonna wanna stick with the 14-inch. But if screen real estate is everything that matters, you're going to go all the way up to the 16-inch. So, real talk. Unlike Deadpool, not everyone needs maximum effort from a MacBook Pro. If what you really want is that mini LED display or those HDMI, SD card, MagSafe, and Thunderbolt 4 ports, then the 14-inch MacBook Pro offers you an option of a bin-down M1 Pro with only 6 performance cores instead of 8 and 14 graphics cores instead of 16. Same 2 efficiency cores and 16 neural engine cores, just minus 2 P cores and G cores, starting at $2,000 or $300 less than the full-on M1 Pro. And that lower core, lower price option just isn't available on the 16-inch model. It's 14-inch only. So if you absolutely positively have to have a 2021 MacBook Pro, but you don't want to spend dime or dollar more for it than you absolutely have to, the 14-inch is your nifty thrifty option. But on the other hand, if maximum effort is your mantra, well, for this MacBook Pro, you can actually go either way. Both the 14 and 16-inch models can be escalated from the M1 Pro to the M1 Max, which means really, truly maxed out with 32 GPU cores, 64 gigabytes of RAM, and 8 terabytes of SSD. And they also both have exactly identical ports. But the 16-inch does have a bigger thermal envelope, so it'll be able to run hotter for longer. So if you are literally intent on lighting up all of that silicon all of the time, or at least for a long time, the 16-inch M1 Max, and only the 16-inch M1 Max, has a high power mode as well that'll let you goose those fans and that temperature to let those cores be absolutely everything that they can be. So if you just want a MacBook Pro and performance isn't your prime concern, get the 14-inch, maybe even the 8-core 4 GPU version of the 14-inch. But if you really truly want the MacBook Pro, get the 16-inch M1 Max, 10-core 32 GPU version. Now, you can get the M1 Pro or the M1 Max in either the 14-inch or 16-inch MacBook Pro. Both have the same 2 Ice Storm high efficiency cores, 8 Firestorm high performance cores, and 16 neural engine cores. That is with the exception of the 14 inches 8-core M1 Pro variant that I just mentioned. But when it comes to just pure CPU and machine learning performance, you're getting the exact same capability no matter which way you go. With the M1 Max though, you can get 24 GPU cores for an extra $200 or 32 GPU cores for an extra $400. What the versions with more cores give you is literally exactly that, more better multi-core performance. So if you're doing anything that's GPU bound, for example, like heavy 3D modeling or a ton of effects work or driving a bunch of high-res displays, that's where you're going to see the difference. M1 Max also offers extra accelerator blocks for media, 2 video encode and ProRes encode and decode engines instead of just one of each on the M1 Pro. So if you're working on multiple streams of 8K ProRes video, or just outputting a ton of video, for example, you're going to want to go with the M1 Max. And for more on all of that, I'll drop a link to my review in the description right below the like button. The other big difference is, of course, RAM. M1 Pro supports up to 32 gigabytes of unified memory. M1 Max supports up to 64 gigabytes. Now, unlike traditional PCs, which have separate CPUs with RAM and GPUs with video RAM, VRAM, all laid out on a giant board, Apple Silicon uses a much smaller system on a chip design, or SoC. That puts the CPU and GPU on the same die, and the RAM on the same package. That means they all have access to that same big pool of memory and don't have to waste time copying data back and forth. And that pool of memory at 16 gigabytes is already big for a laptop GPU, and at 64 gigabytes is just enormous. Now, most people won't need more than 16 gigabytes, of course, but if you really are pushing the limits of your existing machine, if you're doing tons of pro work in multiple pro apps across multiple pro displays, all at the same time, now you can feed all those cores, all those apps, and all those screens with up to 64 gigabytes of RAM at the same time. So if you're more than fine with your existing MacBook or laptop, you'll almost certainly be fine with 16 gigabytes. But if you've been frustrated with 16 gigabytes in the past, if you've already been feeling memory pressure with exactly those kinds of workloads, then now you can get 32 gigabytes. And if you've always wanted the equivalent of a Mac Pro in a book, you can now get all the way up to 64 gigabytes in your MacBook Pro. Yeah, it's ridiculous. For SSD, the basic rule of thumb is to take what you have now and just double it for whatever you're getting next. That way you buy yourself some breathing room against storage creep. So that pretty much puts 1 terabyte at the bottom end of the sweet spot and 2 terabytes at the top end. Any less and you'll likely be living the external drive life, which can be even more annoying than that dongle life. And any more and you're just paying a premium to store bigger files and projects locally and tempting the backup gods that the extra convenience doesn't just make you extra sloppy. So if you don't currently feel any storage pressure, go for 1 or 2 terabytes and then just offload old work when and if it's necessary. But if you are feeling it, especially if you travel a lot and it's just really hard to go external, then look at more. 4 terabytes, or if you just never want to look at a drive again except for backup, 8 terabytes. Now, if you want the longest battery life possible, it might seem simple. Just get the biggest MacBook Pro possible, the 16-inch, and that's true, but only partially true, because the 16-inch absolutely has the biggest battery, bigger than the 14-inch. But the other thing you'll want to consider is the chipset. Everything else being equal, if you care about battery life more than performance, you'll care about the M1 Pro more than the M1 Max, because less silicon just means less power draw. But if you put those two things together, the 16-inch with the bigger battery and the smaller M1 Pro chipset will combine like Voltron to give you the absolute longest battery life possible on the MacBook Pro. In other words, maximum performance, the 16-inch MacBook Pro with M1 Max. Maximum battery life, 16-inch MacBook Pro with M1 Pro, which also might help you get just maximum value, depending on your specific needs and workloads, between that $2,000 base model Pro and the $16,000 fully loaded MacBook, which is why it is legit terrific to have so many options, especially to smash your phone bill in half like you can with today's sponsor, Ting. Get talk and text for just $10 a month, data plans starting at $15 a month, unlimited from $45. And whether you use 2 or 20 gigabytes, you can find the perfect plan for you and your family with Ting. And Ting works with all the latest iPhones, all the latest Pixels, all the Galaxy Flips and Folds, pretty much anything you can push a SIM card into, and you can keep your existing number. Plus, you get access to the best nationwide coverage in America, as well as Ting's award-winning customer service. Just go to rene.ting.com to check out all the plans and see how much you could save, because it could be a lot, especially after you buy one of these new MacBook Pros. And because you're watching this video, you'll also get $25 off. Just click on the link below or go to rene.ting.com and get $25 off. Clicking on that button on screen really helps out the channel, and so does hitting up this playlist for more, just a ton more on M1 Pro, Max, and the new MacBook Pros. Just hit up that playlist, and I'll see you in the next video.